Hello, 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 people. It is your girl, Alicia Couri, here with another episode of the Audacious Confidence Show. You know what? I typically don't count episodes because I just don't, because I always get it wrong. So, but I can count this episode because this is episode 12. This is the final episode in season 3 for us. And this is really exciting because we definitely saved the best for the last in this episode. This is something that I haven't done before, and I'm super excited to interview my guest tonight. And if you know anyone who has had any type of sexual abuse or homelessness or low self-esteem, or even was suicidal, I would encourage you to invite them to watch this show, because this show will give them hope, and it will give them an opportunity to really see themselves in a different way. If you struggled with your identity, that's another great. We're going to cover so much in this show. You're not going to believe. After 45 minutes, you'll say, what? So strap in and get ready, because this is going to be some kind of ride. It's hey. I'll say Lady Jacasso, but that's my cousin. Hey, Jilly. So it's going to be some kind of ride tonight. I don't really know where it's going to go, because when I introduce my guest, I'll tell you a little bit about Szebastian and let you know how things go for both of us. So Szebastian is, in fact, my partner here on Dreamaniac TV. And he and I have known each other for several years now. We met on Facebook. We met online. We've never actually met face-to-face in person. So we have a virtual, really very close friendship that started virtually. So I don't need to read a bio on him, because I know I'm going to have to start correcting myself. So, and he's probably laughing in the green room at me, but I'm going to just lay it out from the beginning, because we have been, he says he's laughing at me. We have been, I'm going to have to bite my tongue throughout this entire episode, because he is, in fact, non-binary. And so we have this debate back and forth about his identity, and it's something that is very challenging for me. And the fact that we are such good friends, because we are very different people. We are very, yes, nervous as I am, yeah. We are very, very different people, how we see the world, but it has not affected the fact that we are close friends and we love each other and we're partners. So Szebastian, always at 7. Szebastian is such a dynamic person. He loves to give, is such a giver. And yeah, you're going to slap me after the show, but such a giver, loves people, loves animals, has had his own struggles with mental health, his struggles with sexual abuse, which is what we're going to talk about, low confidence. I mean, his confidence was completely destroyed at one point and had to build it back up piece by piece. And such a remarkable story. So I want to bring him up before I say something else and have to bite my tongue. So come on up to the show, Szebastian, and let's get this started. Because you're just, I'm going to trip all over myself, because this is something that I'm not used to. I'm not accustomed to, right?
Hey, we are both in the same boat, because I'm not used to being a guest on your show. So there you go.
Yes.
And yes, every time you said I was laughing my pants off, literally.
Because you're half and half, like I usually am.
Well, I'm not half and half. I am two different, I'm non-binary, so I don't have a specific gender identity.
I'm talking about your dress, because you're saying that you're
right.
have your pants off. So we're dressed from the up. But today I'm wearing a dress. See, I'm wearing a full dress today. So I'm fully dressed today. I'm not half and half today.
Hey, I'm wearing a full top dress. So
yeah, you're wearing full top. So so you're non-binary. And we're going to get into that later on in the show. But I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the Audacious Confidence Show, because yes, you have never been here before. This is uncharted territory for me to interview you. You've interviewed me.
I was in a very long queue.
3 seasons you've waited for this.
Right.
3 seasons. All right, so let's get started. First of all, I want to take you back to childhood, because all this stemmed from sexual abuse in your childhood that damaged and destroyed your confidence. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So I was, you know, I'm the single child of my parents, technically speaking. I say technically because my parents call a few people as their children, including yourself, because you're the red daughter, and there's a Spanish daughter, and there's an Australian daughter. So there's, you know, but yes, I'm the single biological child, and at around age of 7, my parents, they're both entrepreneurs. Okay, so they're busy people, very ambitious, and the thing is, they came from very poor backgrounds, and for them it was a mission to never have to make me see poverty, never have to. They didn't want me to ever have to want anything or ask for anything, but already have it there. Which I'm very grateful for, because I truly, in the culture I've grown up in the circumstances I've grown up in, they have never ever let me feel any kind of anything is missing in my life.
Like any lack.
Nothing lacked, and you know, I didn't even realize that I ever needed anything, because it was all there. At around age of 7, being busy, they trusted me. They trusted, you know, some men. I say some men because it was really, you know, it was their own professional network, and it was kind of like 4 or 5 guys living together, and had really long-term friendships with them. So trusted them a lot, and thought, oh, you know, where could our child be more safe than being with somebody we know from so many years? And all these guys love our child, and you know, I got along really well with them as well until that age. So they trusted, like, okay, you know, you can babysit, we don't have to worry about that, and they would leave me there. And unfortunately, barely a week after they started leaving me there, sort of to babysit me, things started happening. And
was it one person in particular, or?
Well, that's where it gets really, really horrific, to be honest. And it took me a while, but I'm okay all okay now. So first it started with a, you know, little joke. And 7-year-old, what would I know what a sexual joke is? So, you know, I didn't understand what that joke meant, or what that action meant. So for me, it was like, just like a child, like, don't do that. And then it started as a playful thing, and then I kind of felt like, okay, my parents don't touch me like that, you know. Nobody has touched me like that before, so it was just not something I was comfortable with. And I'll just simply say, within less than a week of and here's the difficult part for me even today, that for 6 to 7 long years I went to that house every single day, technically getting babysat, and my parents trusting them a lot. And
you never said anything?
I didn't, not once. It was barely a week, and first, you know, I was abused by one guy, and of course it was, in simple words, I can say it was painful, the very, you know, physical pain.
Of course, and you're 7 years old.
I had my body was not even able to understand what was happening. And then in my mind, I couldn't, that pain and how I felt and being stripped, and there's audience there, I just couldn't understand. And
so others watched.
And
that is
before I could say or before I could react to anything, I was pretty much told that that's why my parents left me there, and that's what I deserve to be, and I better behave or otherwise my parents will be very ashamed of me. And at 7,
Yeah.
right now it doesn't probably make sense, but at 7 I was convinced that, okay, so I've got to be a good son.
Right.
And I just didn't want to. I can't explain. And
so what do you think that did for you as a child, looking back now at it? What do you think?
Well, the thing is, first of all, it went on for nearly 7 years, and after 7 years, I just want to go into like, I told my dad I had enough. I was now nearly a teen, and I knew that, okay, this is not okay. And irony is, at around 9 or 10, my dad actually spoke about something and said, a good touch, bad touch, and all that. And that's when I started thinking like, oh my God, this has been happening. And now I got scared because I actually threatened these guys at one point, like, I am going to tell. And they said, well, if you do tell, they threatened my parents' life. And that it just shook me, and I
added more fear to you, more pressure on you.
At least for another 2 years, I was quiet. At least another 2 years, and then I just couldn't take it anymore. It's 6 guys, and I'm still not even a teenager, and it just became too much. And I asked my dad. I said, I don't want to go to that house anymore. I just had to say that once. And my dad didn't ask a question. He's like, you're never going there again. And the next thing I knew is those guys were not in that house. They left that house within a week. So clearly my dad understood without me even saying it. And
he knew something was going on.
Unfortunate thing is I could never talk to him about it. We never got the chance to talk. But yeah, he knew, he took action. My parents were extremely sensitive and careful towards me. And they tried to ask me a lot, but I just kind of shut myself.
Yeah, the shame.
I had no confidence. I hated myself. I didn't want to be talking about it. And I'll put it this way. There was a point that I just erased it from my memory. I just simply denied that anything happened, even in my own mind, let alone anybody else. I just told myself it never happened. And
do you think that is why men don't talk about it if it's happened to them?
Well, the biggest thing is, in my experience, and since I have been working with other men on these issues and other boys through my movement called Talk to Me movement, what I understood and realized is that half it's the, I would say toxic masculinity. Like it's about men don't cry, men don't complain, and men don't, men are strong. And that strength is linked with that. This is boys playing with boys,
right?
To me, it was presented as like, this is boys playing with boys. Boys do that until they grow up, So for me, it was a conflict. Like, am I not man enough? Am I not a boy enough that I'm complaining about this, or am I angry about this? And then the shame and the fear of my
this is normal. Why don't I feel like it's normal? If this is
right
supposed to be, why do I feel like it's wrong?
And the thing is, this is what happened for me. It was more like when I tried to say that I'm going to talk about it, I was given like, oh, why don't we talk about it? Why don't we let people know that you've been our bitch, And it just has a different psychological effect when you, again, it's like masculinity, or, just making you like not masculine enough.
Humanizing you, really. It's not just about masculinity. It's stripping everything away from you. So I know we have to.
It broke my confidence. It broke my confidence completely.
Yeah.
I felt ugly. I didn't feel like I belonged. And all I knew was that this is how my life is meant to be. In fact, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to ask you, because it repeated itself again in your life. It wasn't just through childhood. So what do you think created that other situation that it happened again?
Well, I think unfortunately it happened 3 times in my life. Okay. And one was purely, which was actually quite recent. That was purely criminals really just finding me alone.
Do you think it was like a hate crime? Do you think they targeted you?
I won't say it was a hate crime, but I would say it was a group of men who would have, anybody at that place would have been in that situation. If it was any other guy other than me, they would have been raped. So it would have been the same thing. So I was just at the wrong time, at the wrong place, you know, and that in between that, in my relationship, this happened. I had what was once a very romantic relationship turned out to be very, very abusive. First, it was mental abuse. It was always making me feel, and here is what's more painful. I trusted this guy with my history. I opened up before we established a relationship, before we got intimate. I opened up, and we had one great year of relationship. And then suddenly this became a weapon. This became like, so, you know, and I don't want to say it, but I was reminded that this is what I'm worth. And, you know, I have given you love that you don't even deserve. And being a grown up, having already had years of counseling and everything, and having already rebuilt myself, and then to have that again from somebody I am madly in love with. And you know, when you love someone, you just don't know how to stop loving them. And
even though it's destructive, even though in your head,
you see it's hurting you, you know it, you don't want any part of it, but you just don't stop it.
You just don't know how to stop it because your heart.
Then it became physical violence. Then it became, you know, forced sex, which I would say, you know, rape. And until the point that, and I remember this very well. I even remember the date. I'm not going to say it right now, but, you know, and it's irony. I just now realized it was 1st of April of that year.
Oh, wow.
It was 1st of April of that year. He beat me black and blue. I'm bleeding everywhere. And I was suicidal. And I called my sister Sue, and I just literally said, I don't want to live anymore. And that's it. I'm done. She was with me on phone for 2.5 hours, just telling me, telling me to calm down, she literally just said, I'm here. Just tell me what's going on. I'm here. I'm going to be here. Even if you want to end your life, I'm going to be on this call until the last minute. And that's what saved me. That's
why you have your Talk to Me movement.
That's where the Talk to Me movement actually began.
Get on the phone and just stay on the phone.
And so men do get raped. Men do face domestic violence from, you know, their male partners as well as female. And I know examples, so many. And so it is important to talk. It is important to let it be known, because until you stop it, nobody else can. Because as I said, I had no confidence. I repeatedly just thought I don't belong and I'm not worth anything.
Yeah. You know? So let's transition. We went a little bit long with that segment, but if you're just joining us, I'm Alicia Couri, your host. You know, I never even introduced myself at the beginning of the show, because I just, if you are here on Audacious Confidence, you know who I am. I am Alicia Couri, the Red Carpet CEO, and I'm here to influence, educate, yes, influence, educate you, so you can step into your own audacious confidence and be more, do more, have more. And today on my show is my partner in Dreamaniac TV, Szebastian Onne, the Almost Naked CEO here. And we're really getting almost naked with him talking.
You'll get there one day.
We're almost naked, talking about the challenges, the struggles, and the triumphs through his life, through Szebastian's life. and
Well,
how
yeah, that's a good save. You just use the name.
exactly, that's what you told me. Just use your name. Shaped and grown and inspired this movement and the business and everything else that has come out from the pain of not just childhood, but into adulthood. So
Right.
moving on to this next segment, I want to talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship. Like, how did you transition? Because it's been in your blood. Your parents, both your parents are serial entrepreneurs. And
Mhm.
so how did you transition all that feeling like you were nothing and worth nothing and could do nothing to becoming, first of all, homeless in Australia and then
Mhm.
building yourself up to be this entrepreneur that you are now? So let's
Well,
go
the
back
thing is,
when you first got
uh,
there.
the first thing is that when I moved to Australia, I still one thing about me is that I've always been very confident as a person, despite everything that happened. Yes, I
Because in your
questioned. Yes,
childhood, you were a fun-loving,
I was
forget-
bubbly. I would socialize with anybody, and I have to say that's kind of the reason even the abuse started, to be honest. And
because
that's
you were
why
friendly.
I blamed myself. I thought it's my fault because I'm friendly. It's my fault,
Mhm.
So I saw that the wrong way. It wasn't my fault at all. That's the first thing. But something in me, I am a person who has to keep doing something. I'm creative. I my life is an ongoing project. I just keep doing things. I have to
Oh yeah,
create.
I know.
I have to engage people. I have to and my parents are not only entrepreneurs, they're also human rights activists, they're advocates. So for me, it was something that I grew up around, and I always wanted to socialize, always wanted to help people,
Mhm.
create something unique that can help other businesses. So initially, to be honest, when I started thinking about dreaming about being an entrepreneur, it was looking at my parents and thinking, that's what I want to be as well. I want to have my own, team. I want to have, I didn't know what business I would be doing, but I knew that I wanted to have
Mhm.
my own team and I wanted to be a leader. And what also happened was, it was also, as you would say, my saving grace that for me, wanting to be a leader in myself was something that saved me. I wanted to do something where I felt in control. I felt that I have the power and I felt like I am changing the world. And
Right,
that's where my entrepreneurial spirit started, because I just knew I'm not meant to be an employee. I'm
right,
not meant to be just a team member. I'm meant to make decisions. I'm meant to, you know, have a vision that other people can be inspired with. And that's how it started, really, to be honest, with a charity, event that I created.
so
And
take me back though. Sleeping on a where were you? Like on a park bench? How
so
where
this
were you?
actually, it's actually a little bit zigzag story, because what really happened was I already started part time, sort of playing into being an entrepreneur while I was in a job. I was working full time, and I was studying full time. I was working full time, and I started, thinking about ideas. I saved a lot of money, and I knew that, okay, you know what, I wanna try and dabble into being an entrepreneur,
Right.
and
You want to start your own business.
being from Indian origin, my first venture was IT. So
IT.
I had to do something IT. But within 3 months, I was like, nah, that's not me. Because we in my culture, you're either an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer, and nothing
Right.
else. And none of that worked for
Really.
me, because I needed something that could be maybe technical, but has to be creative, has to be something that's doing more than just providing services. And unfortunately, around that time, things happened in my life. Um, I ended up trusting somebody too much. Now, I wouldn't say abusive relationship, but I ended up trusting the wrong guy, and I lost everything. One day I wake up and the guy, is gone. I lost everything, and I was kicked out of my house because I couldn't pay rent. And how the events turned, I ended up not having a job. I ended up having nothing. And I was too embarrassed and too ashamed to go back to India and to say that I failed. At that time, one enemy that I had was within me, a big ego. I wouldn't tell anyone what I'm going through, but I would just have a brave face, not tell anyone, not have anything to eat. But I would just not say. I would pretend like everything is great and I have lavish life and everything. And the result was I was homeless for nearly 6 months. And I lived from, initially from friends, couch to couch to couch. And then, of course, I ran out of friends who were ready to have me on couch for that long. And
and you ended up on the street.
The sad thing is, I tried to sell myself. I thought maybe that's my answer. And I went on website, I set up everything.
Let me ask you this question then. Do you think having the experience of childhood made it feel more like, this is all I'm good for at this moment?
Interestingly, no, because by this time I had so much confidence. I had rebuilt my confidence so much that it was actually a choice. It was a very very clear choice that this is my body. This is what I want to do. And this is, I'm a good looking guy and, men want me. So I had a totally different angle. But as I said, it was more about ego. I just didn't want to ask for help. I wanted to do it myself, but I also didn't have enough time to wait for help or solution to come. I needed to do it overnight.
This is how I'm going to make the money quick.
It was like an overnight option for me. Now, here's the irony, and I think irony that I'm very grateful for. I actually never ended up doing it. I set myself up, had the profile, went and met a client, and that client just wanted to have a chat. He just wanted to have a chat. And then we met over and over again just for chats. Well, that's all we would do. We did not even shake hands. That's the, positive irony, if you would. And so this client actually helped me. He gave me a loan. And he gave me a loan to finish my studies because I had to drop out of school. And I did that, and then I paid back as well. But in doing all that, even to this client, I didn't say that I don't have a place to live. I don't have a place to live. Whatever clothes you see is all I have. And I would just literally, I had a suitcase, and that's how I lived through. And in that entire process, there was a time I was at a stage.
Julian says, Szebastian, I'm indeed so proud of you for sharing your experiences with us. Continue to be strong and encouraged.
Thank you so much, Julie, is it? Yes. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And what it is Javier says, look forward to the interview. Thank you.
That's my job. Listen, that's my job.
I'm used to it. So I'm homeless, but I now have enough money to at least eat and I found a job so I could go back to work. But this was the irony. I'm going back to work, but I'm living in a park or not in any fixed place, really. I'm just really living on streets and not just telling anyone, trying to walk as much as I can after work, go to the beaches. I'm still, look, my ego is still very big at this point. I'm still making it look like I'm having a lavish life and I'm still posting things like I'm all good, but I wasn't. I was broken every day. I was crying every day. I was washing up in, public restrooms. And
so what is the difference then for you with ego and confidence? Because you're saying your confidence was high, but so was your ego, but then you were crying every day. So
I think the ego part, I would say it's a cultural thing because I come from a culture where they say, I would rather get rather get beheaded than be ashamed,
Okay.
than ask for help. That's what I always saw, even though my parents were not like that. But it's just that, the culture you grow in,
Right.
you do big things no matter
Environment,
what.
you pick it up, you feel it. But so
And
I would say it's more that it was your ego that was driving you than confidence. Because
entirely,
if you were,
entirely, my
yeah,
confidence only gave me clarity of my vision. It only
hmm
told me what I am capable of.
where you wanted to actually be in life,
But
what
my
I wanted to do.
decisions were not based from my confidence. They were based out of my ego, because
On ego.
my goal at this stage was not to be an entrepreneur. My goal was like, I'm not going to ask for help,
Yeah,
right?
nobody, yeah. I'm too
Until
proud.
all
I'm
of
too
that
proud
started
to
failing
do it.
as well, because when you do something that you're not happy about, you can't continue, and especially when you don't have a house, you don't have
Unsustainable.
anything. So I ended up at a place where I ended up calling a couple of friends and crying and saying, I don't have any food. I had fainted 3 to 4 times within a week because I didn't have anything to eat, and I wasn't able to organize any funds anywhere. And I just didn't want to go back to try and, be a prostitute. So I was very lucky that this guy was so amazing that I didn't have to be one, right?
Mhm.
So I called a friend, and here's another thing, that there's another ego, and you will understand this well as well, because for me, I'm an atheist. So for me, I'm not going to ask help from a religious person. I'm not going to go to the church. I'm not going to go to a temple. I am going to do it on my terms. And that's where that was my biggest roadblock in everything in my life. And
Mhm.
then there's a friend of mine, and I'm going to thank her here, Miriam Finger. She was my friend, just like you. We were so opposite. We could not be more opposite. She was religious but goth. Okay, very New Age Christian and Gothic, and she had real Scorpios in her key rings, and like we had nothing in common. And I was nothing like that, and I cannot go near an insect, let alone a
I
Scorpio.
know. I know.
And you know that
I know
I
that
would jump,
bug
I
runs
jump out of
by.
my skin.
If a cockroach
And
runs past you, you're like,
somehow I found the courage to call her and say, this is where I am, this is what's happening. And I give up. But one thing that I learned in my life is I wasn't going to give up on life.
Mhm.
So that's one thing, that's like, no matter what, as long as I'm alive, I am going to be able to find a solution. And I said, Miriam, I give up. I don't know what to do. Help me. And she said, okay, the first thing I'll say is, please, for a moment, forget where am I getting you help. Just allow me to get you some food. Allow me to contact my church, get you some food, get you a temporary shelter, and let's just get you under a roof for the time being. Let's just help you tide over. And guess what? After being 25 plus, first time I learned the term tide over.
Yeah.
And and she's explaining me, and
Just to fill
she
the gap.
brings me food. She
Just to fill
brings me the food.
the gap.
She
Mhm.
brings me the food, and I cannot tell you that for the first time I had real food. I had real place to sleep at,
Mhm.
not being scared of either cops or other
Or
people.
somebody, yeah, taking advantage of you on the
You
street.
know, so it was. I just felt something, and the biggest thing for me is my friend not once, because you know what, my first question was, does that mean that I have to go to church? She said, you have to go nowhere. You just have to allow me to be your friend. Just allow
Mhm.
me to help you. And that's all she did. And that's all I needed. That was the break I needed. And I am sitting under this bench, almost falling asleep. I'm saying under the bench because that's exactly where I was. I was hiding from the cops so that I could sleep. And I'm waiting for her to bring me food and everything. And it just comes to me like, I'm not meant to be working for others. I'm not meant to be somebody who gives up. I'm not meant to be a prostitute. And I'm not meant to uh, live this life. I need to create not just life for myself. I need to create life for others.
Mhm.
And an idea came up. I'm just thinking, oh, you know what? So idea came up. I want to help other LGBT community who are in my situation,
Mhm.
and gather small funds, organize events for them, organize, food for them and everything. And we started something like that, me and a couple of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that initially it was just a fitness circle for LGBT youth who are from poor background or homeless,
Mm-hmm.
and turned into my business. It just turned into my business. It became an event company, and I never stopped.
That's right.
One after
But
another.
you were able to really put together your altruism, your desire to help other people that you saw your parents as activists doing. You were able to do that and also create a business at the same time that was not a nonprofit. It was a for-profit business. Dayanara says, and just now, wow, thank you for your story. Our story is one that has to be told. We all have one. We do not know who is listening or reading about it, and it will help. Mine is being written and put together, and I'm waiting for you to come on the show, Dayanara. So yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, actually, Dayanara. And I think writing about it is actually a great way to reach out to people and actually inspire others. And that's what I'm doing as well, Dayanara. So we should connect with me. And yes, please come to our shows.
Absolutely. And we'll put the link if you want to be a guest of the show, definitely. So I want to move on to the next segment. This is the Audacious Confidence Show with your host, Alicia Couri. And you know what? Thank you, Dayanara. Yes, you are both such an inspiration. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dayanara, for tuning in. And so you are watching the final episode of season 12, of season 3, season 12, episode 12, season 3. Listen, math was not my favorite subject in school, just so you know. Of the Audacious Confidence Show here on Dreamaniac TV. And I am your host, Alicia Couri, as I said before. And my guest is actually my partner here on Dreamaniac, Szebastian Onne. He's the co-founder of Dreamaniac TV, as well as the creative director here, and wears many hats. And he has his own company, Szebastian.com, Szebastian Private Limited, and Actively Burns, and several other companies, that because he's an entrepreneur, right? So several other companies, as well as he's an activist. I catch myself. You have to give me credit. I do catch myself when I say. I don't know how to bring it back in, but I catch myself, which is a great transition into our next segment, because we are going to talk about identity and we're going to talk about altruism. So he is an advocate for many, especially for suicide, for the LGBTQ community, and for animals. And he just has a huge heart and a huge passion to help. So, and we've been very active with the current situation, with the Bahamas, with the fires in Australia. Anything that we can be a part of, Szebastian is always the lead on, listen, let's help, let's find a way, let's do this, let's do that. So he has a huge heart. And so let's talk a little bit about identity, because you've been through all these things in your life from 7 years old as a child, and you struggled for a while with your identity.
Well, before I say anything else, I want to say thank you for that exaggerated introduction, because you are no less yourself, and you're an amazing person. And I think
this is about you. Don't do it. This is about you, so it's okay.
Well, I have to say what's true. It's an honor to actually being on your show and being your partner and annoying you every day. So. Yes, that's something we both can agree.
We both can agree. We get under each other's skin. We sure do.
We challenge each other, which is a good thing.
Each other because we are very different. We're very different people with different views and different opinions, but that does not mean that we cannot find a way to work together and still respect and love each other through our differences. And This is how Dreamaniac got started, because we recognize our differences and said, well, let's show the world that we can have very different views. I mean, I'm a Christian married woman. You are an atheist, non-binary homosexual, right? You're a Democrat. I'm conservative.
Yeah.
We don't think
we
alike.
could not be more opposite.
We don't think alike at
and
all.
yet I think we could not be more grateful for the friendship that we have. So, I am really,
Right.
really grateful for the friendship that we have, and which is where really, identity does play a role. For me, identity was a struggle, right? Um, and the reason I have to say I get along with you, and the reason, despite our differences, we really have this great chemistry, is one thing that I realized over years in my life is, if you are comfortable with your identity and if you accept others' identity, it's very easy to get along, because you have accepted who you are and who the other person is. You are not challenged, and you're not trying to change them, and you're not trying to change yourself according to them. I think the most conflict happens when people try to change others according to their definition of what a person should be, and that's where the conflict really begins. But if you are comfortable with your identity, and you know that nothing is going to change who I am, my values, my principles, it doesn't matter what the other person is, and you are able to accept them for their values as well. And as you and I are a great example, that we draw a line. There are times when we don't agree, but we also say, okay, well, let's not go there, because.
And that's the thing. That's what I was going to talk about. We know when to walk away. We know when to say, what? Like you said to me, give me a day. I'm just not going to talk to you. Just give me a day.
Yeah.
Let me process this, and then we'll talk again. And same thing for
Exactly.
me. There are times when we get to like here, and it's like, you know what? Let's just not talk right now.
Right.
Just simmer down, calm down, and and then we're able to come together again and talk about things in a much more calmer situation. And Pauline says, hi Pauline, thank you for joining us. Great openness and sharing your life, Szebastian. Valuing differences is a way forward. Hashtag world harmony. Thank you, Pauline. So,
absolutely.
And I think that is what makes our partnership work, is even if we vent to one another and we have the most out there conversation.
Yeah.
Hi, Stacy. We're able to still produce, create, and see the bigger vision for Dreamaniac. Dreamaniac, when you talked about ego, is not about me or you. It's not about
for me, what I see between you and me is the common factor, or the common ground, is love. It's the love that we have for each other. It's the friendship that we have. We're able to focus on the final thing, that this is how we started. We started because we love each other. We continue because we love each other. The friendship there's a respect, there's a mutual, and we understand each other's boundaries. We understand sometimes when we are pushing those boundaries and how much to go and where to stop, or at least be able to honestly say to each other, despite having a bad day with each other, being able to say, you know what, I need some space. Give me some space. I'll come back. We never reach a point where like, okay, this is over. I just don't want to talk to you anymore. Instead, we're able to say, I need some space. Give me some time, and I'll be back. And we reach out to each other, So that's one thing.
Yeah. And I think because we have that love and respect for each other, we can go there, like we can fight.
Yes.
We've never.
I think that is thing, because there's no insecurity, there's no insecurity. We know at the end of the day, our friendship is going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's still going to be there. And we can, like I said, get to just here. And it'd be like, I could just strangle you right now.
We could make a really great reality TV show, And that's the thing. And this is where, when I talk about identity, one thing that I want to say is, and I understand, you and I talk about this, you struggle with, you accept me for who I am. You have never, ever rejected or, tried to change me. You accept me for who I am, but it is a struggle for you.
It is a struggle. And it's a struggle for me.
Yeah, it's a struggle for you to, understand my pronouns, in your own mindset, right? Because it's not something it's new for you. It's new, it's different. It's not something that you have been through. And so for you to understand that my pronouns are they, them, theirs, I understand. you're not the only one. A lot of people who love me still say he, and they don't understand why do I have to say they. And that's another conversation, for
Yeah,
another
we need
time.
to have that conversation. We definitely
But
need to have, because we
for
run
me,
out of time, but we need to have that specific conversation. And we'll do that on Dreamaniac TV, but on Almost Naked Conversations on your show.
right.
We'll have that
We,
conversation.
we will do that. So I just want to quickly say that, for me, understanding my identity, understanding who I really am. There was a time I saw myself as a gay man, and now I don't believe that. I see beyond that. So understanding my identity brought back my confidence. I now knew who am I and what am I working with and what people have to work with. And it just changed the way I operated. It just changed the way, whether it's my charitable work, whether it's my business, whether it's my friendships, whether it's my, professional network. I knew who I was. It did not matter that I was sexually abused. It did not matter that I had a domestic violence situation.
And that's why we can be open about it.
It did not matter what people did to me. What mattered is I knew who I was. So whatever they did not define me. Who I am defined me, and that's what is defining me now. That is what is driving me in my life now, and that helped me create not only those businesses and those philanthropic movements. It helped me create all these brands and all these creative things that now with confidence I can go and say, hey, I did something great. Let's do it together. And that's how, I partnered with you. I have other partners. So, I have 6-7 different partners in 5 different businesses. There was a time I could not have, if you asked me, I would not have believed that I can have one business. And now, despite all the challenges, everything, and, the situation that's going on right now in the world, it doesn't bother me, because the one confidence I have is you can burn everything down to ashes. I am still going to rebuild it. I'm still going to make it.
We can. And and I think that's a really great point, is that where we are right now, let's not look at what we're losing or what we've lost. Let's, of course not, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about, yes, Brigetti, it is reality TV. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about things. If we've lost things, communication is key to all great relationships. Yes, Stacey. I think a series about the both of you being quarantined will be very interesting. Listen, you don't.
I think it will be.
Working from a place of love helps move the forward from a place of pain or challenge. Absolutely. So yeah. So when you can recognize that you can rebuild, you were homeless, you had nothing, and the way we rebuild is for reaching out and asking for help. And there are people out there that are so willing to assist us, that help us, to love us. And that's where we have to drop the ego and drop everything else and really be open and willing to accept the help, and then give back. You don't have to give back to that person, because you are a giver. You give back to someone else that needs it. Anyway, we have gone so over time.
Well,
what did Stacey say?
She said quarantine is done tomorrow. Yay. Well, one thing I want to say, before we close, really is the last thing. There's something I believe in, CTCR, which is clarity, having the clarity where you stand in your life. And T is accepting the truth. You know your truth always, whether the world does or not. And when you know with clear vision, you know your truth, it gives you the courage, and it gives you the resilience to go on and do what you want to build, and which is what I call CTCR, or I also call it cut the crap.
All right, and with that note, we'll say goodbye to Szebastian. Don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So this has been another episode of the Audacious Confidence Show. I hope you enjoyed that episode. It was very, very rich and deep, and we got to learn a lot more about the co-founder here at Dreamaniac TV, Szebastian Onne, and my partnership with him. Brigetti says, once you have lost everything, you lose your fear of having nothing, because you know anything can be rebuilt if you have life. Absolutely, Brigetti. Lady, which is Jillian, says, the first step is recognizing where you are, then you can move forward. Yes, for sure. And so this is the final episode of this season. We'll be taking a quick break, and we'll be back in another week or two. So don't forget me. I'm going to come back with another series, another season of the Audacious Confidence Show on Dreamaniac TV. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time here on Dreamaniac TV, we like to say that you dream big and we make it happen. And on the Audacious Confidence Show, I'd like to say, live your life fully and step into your own audacious confidence. Love you guys. Mwah. Hi, Alicia Couri here. If you enjoyed that episode of the Audacious Confidence Show, check out more on this channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if you hit that notification button, you won't miss a single episode.